Game. Players know what they're risking when they hit the field: torn ligaments, broken bones. But what about a blow to the brain? According to the Centers for Disease Control, concussions from sports are an epidemic in this country. As many as 3 million sports-related concussions happen every year. And new research shows that their effects can be frighteningly long-lasting, even leading to permanent brain damage and the early onset of dementia. Multiple concussions have ended the careers of other star players, including NFL Hall of Fame quarterbacks Steve Young of the San Francisco 49ers, Troy Aikman of the Dallas Cowboys, and 3-time Super Bowl champ linebacker Ted Johnson from the New England Patriots. Johnson, number 52, was such a hard hitter that in one play he ran into an opponent with so much power that he cracked the other guy's helmet in two. By Johnson's own estimate, he suffered more than 50 concussions, but kept on playing, even though sometimes he couldn't remember the plays and he had trouble seeing.
A lot of times, if I didn't get my vision back before the next snap, I'd have to have another linebacker call the plays. I couldn't see on the sideline. I couldn't see my defensive coordinator signaling in because my vision was still blurred.
But you were still playing.
I was still playing.
You get a concussion and you go back in the field.
Right back in, and I would just hope the guy...
Why did you do that?
Well, I didn't know any better.
But you weren't that worried about it at the time.
I wasn't as worried as maybe I could have been if I knew the potential risk.
Years ago.
I was in bed with no contact with anybody, curtains drawn. I would get up, go eat, go back to bed. That was my routine for a long, long time.
How long?
Close to a year and a half.
There are several studies.
Dr. Robert Cantu, the neurosurgeon who co-authored that University of North Carolina study, treated Johnson and says he believes Johnson is suffering from brain damage.
A large segment of society thinks that concussions are innocuous and everybody recovers from them and life is going to be merry ever after.
Not true.
Not true at all.
That's an indication of bruising on the brain.
Dr. Ann McKee, a neuropathologist at Boston University School of Medicine, has been working on a brand new area of research on the brain that's provided physiological proof of brain disease in athletes who have suffered concussions. And whose brain was this?
Well, this was Walter Hilgenberg.
Walter Hilgenberg was a former Minnesota Viking who died last year of Lou Gehrig's disease at age 66. His wife donated his brain to research because he had so many severe concussions during his career.
We do have evidence that he did have trauma to his brain.
Dr. McKee says these slides, cross-sections of his brain, show that Hilgenberg was suffering from a devastating degenerative brain disease called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. It was first seen in boxers and can only be diagnosed after death, when the brain is dissected. You can see it in the dark brown pigment, which shows an abnormal protein that kills off brain cells.
A normal brain, that is an individual that does not have this injury or does not have any other condition, you shouldn't see any of this dark brown pigment. It would be completely white. None of this brown pigment would show up.
But you can tell that it was caused by trauma.
This pattern of injury is only seen in trauma.
Just this year, Dr. McKee has examined the brains of 16 former athletes, including 11 football players, and the results were shocking. They all had the brain disease, CTE. Her research was published in a leading medical journal in the field.
I've looked at brains from people that have lived to be 110, and you just don't see anything like this, what we see in these athletes.
Even more troubling, she says, CTE actually progresses undetected for years, silently eating away at brain cells until it causes dementia and other cognitive problems.
It seems to be triggered by trauma that occurs in a person's youth, their teens, their 20s, even their 30s, but it doesn't show up for decades later. People think it's a psychological disease, or maybe an adjustment reaction, maybe a midlife sort of crisis type of thing, but actually they have structural disease. They have brain disease.
Dr. McKee's research found that athletes in any contact sport are at risk of permanent brain damage.